The full moon in your dream is you.
Sabretmek, öylece durup beklemek değil, ileri görüşlü olmak demektir. Sabır, dikene bakıp gülü, geceye bakıp gündüz görebilmektir. Ve bilinir ki, gökteki ayın hilalden dolunaya varması için zaman gerekir.
Welcome to the 6th Lunar Conversation in our 13 meeting series. We're celebrating the release of my album 13 Lunar 13 Lunar Meditations, Summoning the Witches, which came out in January. And it's unbelievable that 6 months have passed and we've been meeting here every new moon for 6 months. And we will continue all the way through January of 2022. And today's meeting is quite a special one for me. This poem that was chosen by Nihan, my friend Nihan, who you just heard read it in Turkish. It's a poem that's been really walking with me and guiding me through life. And I'm so excited to share it with you and to have these conversations around it with you. Before I invite my friends, I'll just speak it to you in English so you'll have it in your ears and in your heart as we start this conversation. So the poem is called Patience by Şems Tebrizi, who was a contemporary of Rumi's, a Sufi poet. Patience is not sitting and waiting. It is foreseeing. It is looking at the thorn and seeing the rose. Looking at the night and seeing the day. Lovers are patient and know that the moon needs time to become full. So I'd like to invite my co-producer and partner in this work, conductor of Cor Luna, DB Boyko. Hi.
Hello. I'm kind of just taking those words into my body right now, so I'm waving back and forth. Yeah, we need those words now.
Yeah. Especially now, maybe.
Yeah.
And I want to mention so that I don't forget. So this poem, the way that I composed it is a very minimal. The arrangement is very minimal. It doesn't include the whole band, and I'm actually not performing in it. The lead is sung and spoken by Jay Clayton, who is not with us today because it's her son's birthday. So happy birthday, Dove. And congratulations, Jay. And we'll see Jay probably another time soon. And Jay is accompanied by Eylem Basaldi on violin, who will be with us shortly. And Cor Luna, which is the choir that DB and I have created and DB conducted for this project. And this choir was put together with the help of Christine Duncan and Kathy Kennedy and
Joanna
too. Exactly. So with the help of our good friends and beautiful choir conductors and vocalists. So we'll have a chance to listen a bit tonight to the choir and Eylem and Jay, and to talk a little about your process as well, DB. But the first guest that I want to invite is Katie Bull, who actually wrote the song Moon Story. Katie! So Katie wrote Moon's Story that we listened to last month, which opens side B of the album, which is the side that is dedicated to the full moon or the aspiration towards the full moon. It's the moment of like arriving or envisioning this fullness. And I invited you today, Katie, because you and I have been friends for a long, long time. And I find you, other than being a dear friend and an incredible person, an artist, you're also a deep teacher for me in the arts of slowing down and paying attention and embodying. I think you're truly a master of those things, truly. And I just really felt like you were the right person for this conversation about this patience and this foreseeing, looking at the thorn and seeing the rose. I think you're someone who really knows how to do that. So I wanted to hear from you about that a little.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Maybe you want to say something about yourself to introduce yourself to the humans.
Well, first I just want to say that I love you. I remember meeting you when you were in your 20s, and you were in that beautiful, beautiful song that I think you wrote the composition in that event, and I saw the glow, a glow from you, and I feel the glow in this whole project. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So thank you for inviting me to be part of it. Yeah. I am a voice coach and a vocalist, and the work that I teach is what I also do. And so there's a lifelong, dedication to experimenting with coming into the body. When DB said, I'm taking the words into my body, I really felt that. The words are so beautiful. And if you let them penetrate, it actually slows down, slows you down a little bit to take it. It's like in a good way. I just think in whole body voice, we're braiding a lot of different kinds of ways of exploring the present moment. And the music that you're going to play tonight, this beautiful composition, Patience, has a kind of spaciousness in it, and yet a coherency of shape and intention. And so the idea of slowing down and yet at the same time being vibrant, I think is what the voice work is all about. And and so it does become somewhat of a way of living, to be able to take a moment to be here, breathe, when so much of society is saying, go, 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 push, go hard, go. And then paradoxically, you can find yourself just going with so much gusto, because, and you can have range and dynamics, which I also hear in your album, your exquisite album, range and dynamic and texture. And so there's nothing static about Patience.
That's true.
Yeah. In fact, it's such an alive, electric place to be in, because it requires the holding of the tension of the opposites. The sense of like, I'm here and this is where I am. And then also where the human animal also has instincts and impulses to move forward and to go somewhere. And,
I love the line about the foreseeing, because I think that's the big place of shift in the poem for me, because it's not about static energy. Exactly. It's not about, there's something about that saying of being in the moment, which yes, be in the moment, but also hold all of time in some way. That's what I feel like. The best moments are moments where you are present with what's going on in that particular moment, but you're also holding all the resonance of the past, and you're also holding the foreseeing, not the anticipation, not the pressure of the future, not the forgetting about the now and just being in there. Where am I going? But the foreseeing, that ability to hold a vision for something.
Yeah.
I think that and
Beautiful.
when you talk about breath work and about, you mentioned whole body voice, I would love for you to say more about that, because that's really your system that you've developed based on several modalities that you work in.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Just a bit.
kind of funny. I don't know why I find it funny to talk about myself, but yes, whole body voice. So years and years ago, many moons ago, when I was 16, I was introduced to a speaking voice coach. But I had already been vocally training with Jay Clayton as a teenager myself, and with Sheila Jordan. So when I encountered a speaking voice coach in a SUNY Purchase theater school, even though I had entered as a musician, I transferred into theater. And I just thought it was extraordinary, because his lineage was very, very beautifully diverse. I mean, he had trained with Kristen Linkletter, a great iconic vocal coach, but he had also trained with Cecily Berry, and he was very close with Patsy Rodenberg, and he had done singing, and he had done all kinds of things. So he loved improvisation. He loved all the physical and vocal improvisation that I was already doing. So I just wound up developing over the years a relationship with him. And then he asked me if I would intern with him, and I wound up becoming like a protege of his. And I wound up teaching, and then he started referring work. And over the decades, we're talking from the late 1970s to now, it's just been an experiment. That's what I love about it. And bringing in from, I'm certified in Fitzmaurice, which is a bioenergetic technique. I'm certified in ATM teaching Feldenkrais, and about to be fully certified in Feldenkrais. And my family were dancers and jazz musicians. So all of these things came together. And it's a constant playground to experiment. But there is a form, and the form is designed to do away with itself, because it's rooted in the organic, which is the structure of the body, the very organic structure of the body, which is so universal. I mean, we have a skeleton, we want to functionally integrate our whole self, right? We want to have a vocal passageway. Breathe in the here and the now, speak from the now, and sing from the here, and sing to the other and with the other, and with the band, and not at the band, or so it's kind of wonderful, because it's a visceral practice that winds up just so playful, so playful. And it requires the exploration of something that's counter to our Western culture, which is patience, which is going slowly in moments and then accelerating. But everybody kind of wants to rush and get to make the sound, and make the sound. But to actually to start with something a little slower and gentler, build, and it's something I've been experimenting with for a long time. So it's always an inquiry, and every single time I work with a new group of actors and singers, or hybrid artists, I feel like I learned something new about it, and it just keeps expanding. So that's what it is. It's and I didn't call it the Katie Bull method because I, number one, don't have an ego attachment to it. I feel like we all have this potential to come into the realm of the whole body and contribute something to an experiment, and that we certainly don't own it. Like I don't own a squat. Like that's primal. I'm not going to try to copyright
Squatting.
Jesus. But I do think that there are universalities, and so it's quite beautiful to experiment with them too.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Ah, Carol.
Hey.
So,
Neat.
oh, yay, Jody. Hi, good to see you. Hey, Brenda. Yay. Shall we listen to the music? Let's take a pause and listen.
Yep.
Patience foreseeing. Patience.
Patience is not sitting and waiting. It is foreseeing. It is looking at the thorn and seeing the rose. Looking at the night and seeing the day. Lovers are patient and know that the moon needs time to become full.
Sabretmek,
Sabretmek,
öylece
öylece durup
beklemek değil, ileri görüşlü olmak demektir. Dikene basıp,
gülü,
geceye bakıp
gündüzü
tahayyül edebilmektir. Allah aşıkları
sabırlıdır
ve bilirler ki
bilirler ki
gökteki ayın hilalden dolunaya varması için zaman gerekir.
Wow.
So this was my little art therapy project this past week.
I love it. Who did the little beautiful drawings?
Me, I did it.
Oh, so beautiful.
Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
all for checking it out. Yeah. I mean, it was a very turbulent week for me, from like launching the orchard on Patreon and starting all of this new adventure. It's a huge new adventure for me.
Mm.
And then parallel to that, there was a thing that I don't want to go into right now, but there was a thing that involved loss and some mourning. And I just felt, and the guy who did all the previous videos from this company, Surge, who are amazing, they do great work. Unfortunately, he's sick with COVID. He's been sick for a really long time.
Oh.
So we were hoping he would get back on the horse, but he wasn't feeling up to it. And I was like, oh, I need some visuals. I may as well make them.
Oh.
So then I sat with a lot of patience and drew these by hand.
Did you draw the people too?
I did. I drew all of it.
That's
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Thank you. It
Yeah.
was fun. It was fun to do. And it was a first. And I want to dedicate this video to Graham Weber, who was with us a few months ago, because he really reopened my drawing and painting chakra. He's really been a big part of just unlocking that door for me. I used to paint all the time. It was a big thing for me. I was actually like debating whether I want to go that direction or music direction at some point when I was a teenager.
Wow.
And then I dropped it at some point. I just dropped it completely. And this year it's been slowly coming back. So this was a big, like a daily practice of drawing. So that was fun to make.
Wow.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. It makes me think of I think it's Calder that has the sculpture.
The wire sculptures.
Yes, the wire
Exactly.
sculpture.
So in my parents' home, there's a poster of the acrobat, Calder's acrobat, which is basically like a hanger, like a closet hanger.
Yeah.
And the acrobat is drooping from it, and it's all one line.
Yes.
So that was definitely the inspiration for this. Absolutely.
I saw that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yay.
Wow.
And talk about patience. I mean, to follow and, that one line through all of those, and for an image to show up, and the way that you as a visual artist are able to be with the one line, and in the moment when you're in one part of the one line, you're there, but you still have to foresee what you saw, what you see. It's like it's the same thing. It really is a manifestation of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just thinking about transference and your sense of play as a musician, as a vocalist, and then that shifting over into drawing and having that courage to just go for it, because there's skills involved, but there's the skill of going for it. Going back to what you were talking about, Katie, earlier, go versus going. And just reminds me of my dear friend Paul Plumley, who's a great Vancouver pianist. For a period of time, just left the piano aside, and he started playing guitar. And there were a myriad of experiences from different people. When he played, some were confounded. But what was so interesting is that way he played the guitar was the way he played piano. And I can't,
Wow.
even find the words to describe that, but it transferred over in that way. And so that's what I was thinking of when I could see that drawing, see that animation. It's there with you, right? And so it's just a different kind of manifestation.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
DB, maybe you want to say something about the process of working with the choir on this? Because I feel like this piece actually, it took a lot of massaging. It took a lot of time until we found the pocket with it. Every time it was performed, it was a little different. It took a long time. It took a lot of patience to finalize the composition.
Yeah, I had this moment of thinking about the score, which included the text and some of the ideas to work with, and then clearly improvising and trying to sort of hone in on what needed to be integral to performing it. So that changes every time, but what that is always the holy grail of improvising is through composed aspects of music making. It's you do have to throw it up in the air and see how it lands. Anyways, I was just having this moment as listening now. I did not want to go back to whatever that score was in front of me. I just really wanted to listen to it. And so I think ultimately that's that patience part, is being able to relax into what is being generated and to really listen, to then be able to augment what's going on. And not rushing it, not anticipating it, all of those things. Those are, I don't have the words for that. They're not skills, right? They're life lessons, to just have. It's about awareness, and having that awareness in the moment. And every time that you make a sound is like a different breath. Every breath is different. And so that goes back to how we approach singing, right? How we approach making those sounds. And it was also getting used to this group of people, which several of them I had known from previous, very many different kinds of scenarios. So it was this delightful coming together. And then Eylem really anchoring. I think Eylem is in this is like the foreseeing. It is about that change happening, and just recognizing, where are those moments in what we're creating here together. I mean, the text already, the text is the form, and the sense of the landscape of the breath, I think, was something that we knew needed to be honored repeatedly, no matter when we did it. That was there. So it's elements and closing your eyes and going, okay, let it just happen.
The thing I love about the way you sound paint is how you really do allow for a lot of space. I feel like you really do. I think there can be, because there are so many tools at your disposal, it's very easy to overdo, and to add a lot of texture, and I think you so beautifully create spacious environments, sound environments, and allow, I feel every voice comes out. I can hear every individual singer in this choir and pinpoint, oh, here's Kathy, and here's David, and here's Graham, and here's Sechkin. You know, I can hear these voices pop out from within the collective. And that to me is a very special thing.
Well, and you reflected that in the drawing that you did, because as I was listening and watching, and it was like, oh, yes, that's Graham. You've drawn, and that's Graham's voice. And if I have listened back to this several times, obviously. So that was just sort of pinpointing and nuancing what the oral experience was. All of a sudden, the visual kind of just gives it that. This is it now.
And just to mention the very end, the Turkish is spoken by Eylem and Sechkin Sinar, who is the dancer in the Moon Story video. He danced the full moon, and Sechkin is a refugee. He's a Kurdish person originally from Turkey, a refugee to Canada. A super special, incredible singer and dancer and all-around artist. Just a beautiful soul, beautiful human. And having that, you know, this album is very global and non-political per se, but also it holds this, like, these global stories, having a Turkish person near an Armenian person and a Kurdish person all in the same environment, and then using Palestinian poetry and Hebrew all woven in the same environment. And I feel like just gently touching on those painful stories and gently like holding them through poetry and through sound, to me is meaningful. And a way to reflect on them without being too literal or too, you know, boxing into narratives, but rather just being human within those experiences that we live through as humans.
You know, the word that sort of, I've just been thinking a lot about the course of my work, and a lot of that was curatorial at the Western Front and doing a lot of contemporary music programming. And I think maybe what you were touching on in terms of this piece and leaving that space, for me, it's about juxtaposition. And which is, I think what you're talking about, Ayelet, too, is to have all of these different ideas present. They don't have to be interacting, but that just the fact that they're there, to me, that is the most important gift that we can give as artists, so that people have their own way of entering into that work, their own sense of discovery, and no two people are going to match up the same two pieces of work or artists or whatever, but to me it's about juxtaposition. I'm very grateful to have finally discovered that word. As I was talking to a friend about my work, and because we were trying to log some of my history, and so that was really interesting. I went, yes, that's what I've been doing all along. Thank you for letting me know what I've been doing, because I haven't had a clue. No.
Bibi, before we go into listening to Nihan, I have to ask you to make that sound that you make in this song.
Right.
So DB has.
Ooh, wow.
Isn't that amazing? What happens there technically in the vocal folds? I'm trying to understand it. Like, what are the mechanics over there?
Well, you know, it really feels like a warming of the chords, and now I'm not going to remember names, since maybe somebody will help me. Just thinking about all the great teachers and my introduction to extended voice. And oh my God, she came to the Western Front in the 1980s. Somebody, DB is purring. It will come to me. Her husband is a great composer as well. Anyways, she kind of did the 101 of extended voice, and you know, that was when I started to learn about vocal fry and how not to be afraid of that. And how to record what you're doing, so that if you're having difficulty with it, or the voice is getting fatigued, or you've pushed it too far, like, you can do that occasionally. And as long as you can go back and try to figure out a different way to replicate that, you're not going to do any damage to your voice. And, you know, inshallah, my voice goes on and on and on and on. And I've done lots of crazy things. So
I love it, and I believe it.
Yeah.
And I just have to say, because it really ties in, that on the Orchard this month, we have the archive of Theo Bleckman's workshop from the vocal intensive from August of last year, which is called Voice Noise. And that's what he really talks about how to kind of journal your sounds. It's really methodical with him, the way he talks about it. And it's incredible. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
To do that and to document your own extended techniques and bizarre sounds that you can make, and really expand your repertoire and your vocabulary of just sounds and textures.
And not to be afraid. You know, I mean,
not to be precious about it.
Yeah, and just not to there's no need to be afraid. And you know, and that's the one thing in terms of doing the choral conduction. And I did that with seniors for 6 years as well. I taught them how to work in this material, and they'd always be worried. It's like, am I getting this cue right? And I would go, it really doesn't matter, because this is just me giving you an indication of how to begin to generate. We're improvising together here. And what I'm, you know, my patience is really slowing down to listen to what comes out.
Yeah.
Because it's always going to be different, and it's going to be a different voice and a different person. And there, behold, there will be these amazing things that appear, and some things that are not necessarily amazing, but they're part of the organism of the music making, right?
Yeah.
And so, not to be afraid. There are no mistakes to be made in this at all. And those things that are aberrant are actually of great beauty.
Let's go to hear a little bit of what Nihan has to say. Nihan is an incredible vocalist. Is currently living in Barcelona, originally from Istanbul, and she chose this poem for us for this project. So I invited her to give us some words. Let's hear her.
Hi, my name is Nihan Devecioglu, and I am a singer. I come from Istanbul, Turkey, and I was raised also in Germany, and many years I lived in Austria and studied opera. And I am a singer who is very interested in mixing different kind of musical styles, cultures, and languages. So I do a lot of classical, Western classical music, and also Turkish folk, and different kind of folk music around the world. And especially also I am very much interested in Turkish Sufi music, which has a very special meaning in my life, that it is something like a meditation, something that makes me feel grounded inside of my body, my culture, and my voice. And since I think more than 10 years ago, I started to explore Turkish Sufi music. And through this exploration, I discovered also more deeply, I researched more deeply into Jalaluddin Rumi, who is one of the most well-known, famous, profound Sufi poets and philosophers. So, and through Sufi, I also discovered Şems Tebrizi, who is a companion, who was a companion of Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi, and they were very good friends. And at that time, they had a very interesting friendship that many people could not understand. They were really living in another consciousness of love, of love to God, love to the earth, and they were very connected to each other's presence. And for Lunar, when Ayelet asked me for something, I chose this poem from Şems about patience, because for me the moon represents some kind of time circle that is a continuous circle, but it starts and ends and starts again, and this is like the infinite of life, the infinite of soul, or the infinite search of the meaning of life. So, and this poem is especially important for me, because in times of struggle and in times of, sometimes I can be very impatient, not have patience, or sometimes I lose very easily my hope and get confused. This poem reminds me, like the circle, infinite circle of time and infinite circle of the moon, that there is always a beginning and an end and another beginning, that it's about waiting, it's about being patient, and also that patience doesn't mean that you just sit and wait for something, but it's also to trust that life always brings you the things in the right moment. And actually the Sufi also believed in this very strongly. There's a word that is very much used in Turkish Sufis and also in Turkey. It's called hayırlısı olsun, which means in some way, in a deeper level, that trust in the circle of life, that whatever is good for you, it will come. So in this poem, Şems also, in my opinion, is saying is that be patient, life goes on, it comes and goes, and while you are patient, it's not just sitting there and waiting or feeling hopeless. It's about trusting yourself, trusting the universe, trusting the moon, trusting the life, that whatever is good, it will come. So it's like also the black and white, the yin and yang in life, that sometimes you need to wait, and while waiting, that protect your hope.
Wow, waiting, protect your hope.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's a hard thing to do.
So beautiful, the imagery that she used behind the talking. Did she do that, or did you do that?
I did that, yeah.
Because speaking of juxtaposition, talking about the poem and then seeing all the ways in which the life, the movement, the herbs, the candies, the beautiful ways in which the all of the objects are welded and molded, and it's just, you see how it all manifests, through culture, through time.
Yeah.
And it's coming back to that line, that beautiful line in the poem, that the moon needs time to become full. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, what is good for you is always coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. it's hard to believe it, but I think that it's true. I do think that it's true, and I think that sometimes we don't even know, right? We don't even know how things will end up being gifts.
Mm.
And it's hard to say that when there's so much, there really is so much suffering in the world, and then, you know, when you think about that and sentences like that emerge, that's a hard conflict to embrace.
Yeah. I was thinking about a conversation that we were having, the whole country is having around the residential school situation in Canada, and it's been very trying to think about the past and the loss of lives. And but as we worked through this conversation, somebody pointed out it gets harder and it gets better, and it gets harder and it gets better. I mean, that the hardship is there, and we're in that, and the more that we can work with that, the better that we become better people. And so again, that the aberrant is an opportunity to become better people as we work through all of that stuff.
Yeah, I always think about this in the context of the part of the world that I come from. I was born and raised in Jerusalem, which is, you know, the literal meaning of the word Jerusalem is the city of peace, and it's the city of least peace on earth, probably. And just thinking about this poem, especially in the context of the last few, you know, weeks, months, you know, just foreseeing and holding, protecting our hope that things are able to change and always do change. And hopefully sometimes the pendulum moves towards the better and not just the worst.
They're coiled together.
Well, also, I think
My
that
internet
you're a little
choppy,
bit
isn't it?
frozen. Yeah, just a little bit. It's in and
Yeah.
out.
All right, let's hear from Birdie and hope that my internet wants to
Hang
play
on.
fair.
Birdie, let's do it.
There's
Hello, I'm Birdie from Four Directions NYC, and I am so happy to be working alongside Ayelet. I contributed some lyrics to this album, and I'm really happy to be sharing my knowledge and wisdom on astrology and Native American mythology every month as it applies and pertains to what's happening. This is another really powerful month, sort of a finale to the things that have been happening in the previous months. And so all of these things that are happening in June, just want to start off by saying, take it all in stride and remember that you've been prepared for these changes, for these dynamics, so as to really get the most out of this, what is really a healing opportunity for you coming up. On June 10th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in Gemini. And this is going to be this finale energy that I'm talking about. This is an example of that. These cycles that have been, you know, the universe has sort of been saying, okay, we're trying to wrap them up. We're trying to bring them to a close. These things that aren't serving your evolution and your enlightenment any longer. This will be a very strong dose of that and a sharp energy with which to prune your tree. You know, if you're the tree, metaphorically speaking. So pruning you as the tree of the dead leaves, of the dead growth, of the old things that aren't working anymore and are holding you back from blooming and from growing. My advice to you then, with that in mind, is to be as the tree when a storm comes, which is to allow the storm to come as a tree, just staying put, not negotiating the terms, you know, and allowing it to take away the things you don't need and trusting that process. So, knowing that, just being cognizant of that energy is here to do that, and so releasing what needs to be released, basically. And the next day we have Mars moving into Leo, which is great because it you know, once we're kind of letting go of all this, and we don't really have a chance to feel empty or sad about it, because Mars coming into Leo is going to give us this burst of optimism and enthusiasm and courage and, you know, a bright temperament about the possibilities of what's next, what's the next level. A few days later, we have Saturn squaring Uranus, which is really just more of this renegotiating of boundaries. So with the Saturn square Uranus, we're going to be asked to examine if our boundaries are the things that we're really using to hold us in place are actually serving this evolution, this enlightenment, or not. Is it serving the next version of ourselves or not? And so we'll have a time to think about that and examine that and decide. On the 20th of June, we have the sun moving into Cancer. Now we're going to really want to bring it home, back home, to the things that are closer to us, less travel, more intimate connection. This is a dreamy space, less than a, you know, overly exploratory in the sense of the world. This is like exploring your inner world. This is a period of rejuvenation and restoration and nourishment. The next day we have Jupiter retrograde. Same day, next day, the 20th of June, 21st. Here it's just saying, you know, you don't have to push towards the next thing. Just maybe redirect your energy towards what's going to be relevant now. Where's your abundance and fortune headed to now in light of all these changes? On the 22nd, we have Mercury direct. So when Mercury goes direct, it doesn't happen right away that things start to get clear and pick up pace, but this is when we'll start to move back in that direction, and things will pick up this momentum, and you'll be able to sort of put the pieces together of what's been happening over the last month, in particular when Mercury went retrograde. A few days later, we have a full strawberry moon in Capricorn. Called the strawberry moon because this is when the natives gathered strawberries from the fields that were ripening. For you, what that means is this is a time of harvest. The things that you've been working on are fruit that has come to bear. So make extra space, extra time to connect to that. And don't worry about what you thought it was going to turn out or where you're actually at in the process. Honor that experience and whatever it is that is yielded from what work you've been doing, and take time to rest in that and learn from that and celebrate that. The next day we have a Neptune going direct. And so when Neptune goes direct, we can sort of be like wondering if what we thought was real is not so real, and vice versa. If what we thought wasn't really solid, maybe is more solid than we thought. because we're coming off this full moon in Capricorn, which is a really solid, the Capricorn is a really solid, earthly, straightforward energy. It'll be easier to tell what's real and what's not with this Neptune going direct. So, which is why, again, I urge you to really sit at the table on your full moon and see what has come to bear and connect to that, whatever it might be, because it will help you decide and be nourished by that particular process for when you start the next part of your journey. And then we have a beautiful ending in June. We have Venus also moving into Leo on the 27th. So all of these things that have been happening, all these changes, all this healing, we have this Leo energy coming in and saying, I have the courage, I have the bright temperament, I have the focus to go after what I love, what I desire, what my creative, wishes are. All in all, this is like I said, this is a month for all of the things that have been happening over the last few months to culminate. So be patient, take it slow, but be cognizant, remain cognizant of what's happening, and understand that your next higher self is in the process of being birthed.
I had once been a woman. I had once been a human. I had once been made of trees and huckleberries. I had once been a
Hmm. Where is your abundance heading?
Are you who are you asking?
I'm just picking it up from Birdie. I'm just taking it from her. Right off of the words of wisdom. Is it serving the next version of yourself? I love these questions.
I am just sharing with Katie, my dog, in the background because yours was there.
Sabine,
So I just
Sabine and Jasper
Yeah.
making an entrance.
I almost lost all connections for trying to get that in there, but I felt need to share.
So we're almost at 7 o'clock, and unfortunately, Eylem could not join us today, but hopefully she can join us next month, and it'll still be just as relevant. And it's kind of the rolling, the anticipating, the foreseeing. But I want to thank you so much, both of you, for doing this and for taking the time to look into ourselves and into these songs one at a time. I feel like this unfolding is also in itself kind of a gift, because in normal circumstances we don't get to look that deeply into every song on an album. And I find it so amazing how it happens. It just so happens that the songs seem to align with what's going on as the months unfold. Even Birdie used the words "be patient," in her preview, her month in preview. Be patient. And I feel like we are being asked to be patient this month and this time, with Mercury in retrograde and the sun being eclipsed and the moon starting anew, and just the world being as chaotic as it is at this moment in time. And I just wanted to also mention that with this new moon, we're also starting a new calendar month in the Jewish calendar. And the new month is called Tammuz, which is named after the Mesopotamian god of blooming things. And his name was Dumuziad, I think, or something like that. Like Tammuz, Dumuz, it kind of is from the same language. So it's just beautiful how throughout all cultures there's always, I was thinking about the strawberry moon and the Tammuz and all of that kind of different parts of the earth.
Yeah.
People find the same ideas eventually.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything right now is growing in, cycles of growth. And I think of it as simultaneity, cycles and simultaneity of what's underground and what's coming forward. And when there's something blossoming, there's also something dying. And we tend to lean in towards wanting to always make the blooming the most, define it as the beautiful thing. We don't seem to understand, that there's this whole cycle and that whatever is dying and going under is coming back. And in the horrors of the world, there are moments where there is no rightness to it. And it's what it is. It's dark. And then simultaneously, we can still hold and we can still feel where joy lives. And that is the triumph. And it doesn't mean that we negate. It just means, can we hold the tension of the opposites? Can we be patient with not unactive? Still taking action where there is wrong and darkness, but sitting with what we feel, where there's joy, simultaneity. And growth is like that. I have something over here that's not growing as strongly as something else. It's all in the same garden.
And you both are incredible gardeners. And Katie, what you just said just reminds me of your song, "One man dies, another man is born."
Yes.
That's the way life is. That's a song that comes back to me a lot. I think about that song a lot. That you wrote for your daughter, right?
Something dies, something else is born.
Oh, is it?
Yes, I'm happy
I remember it
to go
wrong.
with that man thing. Die. Born, die. But the whole thing, we were in the garden and she saw something dying. And then I said, "Oh, something dies, something else is born." And she said, "Something else is born." And the song was born. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But coming back to your beautiful animation, that childlike imagery, the wisdom of the child to be able to hold those two things side by side, is just because it's life. So.
Well, thank you both so very, very much. And we'll see you next month. July 9th is the next one. And it's for the song Yasmoon's Moon, which is the one that's dedicated to my daughter. And her voice is in it. So we'll see what happens then. But July 9th.
Nice.
I love you. And
Katie, it was beautiful to talk with you.
You too. Absolutely. Quite an honor as well.
Yeah.
This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey! Sometimes he howls when I say hey. It's a very moony thing. He didn't do it though. Bye.
Bye-bye.